All right, last but not least, to round out our fan favorites show, we're gonna end with something that seems like it would be an appetizer, but actually when I made it, I realized, oh my gosh, this makes a delicious meal. So it's my taco dip casserole. So it really is like a taco dip, but it is a casserole because it's like a meal. So we have 1 pound of ground beef or any kind of ground meat that you like, 2 bags of frozen cauliflower rice, a jar of salsa, a can of refried beans, 2 cups of shredded cheese, 4 ounces of cream cheese, 2 cups of Greek yogurt, a packet of taco seasoning, and then we have 1 onion. All right, so I have my ground beef in a pan and I'm cooking it over medium-high heat. I have my favorite ground meat tool, which is, I think, called a mix and chop, but regardless, you can get them online and they're my favorite because you can kind of break up the meat while it's cooking and you can get it into really small pieces. So I'm just gonna kind of break up this ground beef. We're gonna add to the ground beef in the pan just the diced onion that I cut up. And if you want to do even just half of an onion or a sweet onion, you can really just add that to taste. So I'm going to kind of stir that in and let the onion kind of caramelize and bring out that flavor while the beef cooks. Okay, so once the meat starts to brown up, then you can start to add your other ingredients. So we're gonna add about a packet of taco seasoning. However, you can also make your own taco seasoning. So there is a recipe on Dashing Dish to make your own, and it's just a bulk taco seasoning that you make, and then you can just measure it out according to the recipe that you need it for. And then go ahead and stir that taco seasoning in as the meat browns. And that's gonna add all of that flavor. And then once you see that your meat is browned, that's when you can add your refried beans and your salsa. So refried beans usually get a bad rap. A lot of people think that they're totally unhealthy. I think that was during the fat-free craze back in, I think it was the 90s, when everything was low-fat or fat-free. So refried beans are actually not bad for you. It's literally just mashed up beans. So you do want to check the ingredients, make sure they didn't add any ingredients that aren't needed. And that's what I do with all of the food that I buy. Typically, if I don't know what something is, I just look at the ingredients, and if I can recognize most of the ingredients, then I know it's better for you. So we'll add those, and then we'll add our jar of salsa. Okay, so we're just going to continue to cook this over about medium heat just to warm up these refried beans and get them mixed in with the ground beef. I should have done a bigger pan, clearly, because this is going to be hard to mix together. So you definitely want to do a bigger saute pan, the biggest one that you have, so that you're not having struggles like I am to mix this all in. And you just want to kind of work it so that it all comes together. And this is going to be the meat layer to our taco dip. So now that the meat layer is done, we're gonna put this casserole together, and we're gonna start with the base with cauliflower rice instead of white rice. It's a little bit lower in glycemic index and carbohydrates, and it also adds some nutrition. So all I do is I just add about a teaspoon of salt, and you can do that to taste. You can even add different spices and seasonings to really jazz it up, but I find just some basic salt is good enough because we have all the seasonings in the meat layer. So we're gonna stir that salt in. You can also saute this cauliflower rice if you'd like, just to kind of brown it a little bit. It adds to the flavor. And I'm just gonna pour that into a 9x13 baking dish. Then I'm gonna add the ground meat mixture on top of that. So kind of just pour it in like that. What I love about these fan favorites is whenever I look on my website and I can see the recipes that are being made the most, it makes me feel connected to the people that are making my recipes. So if you guys have made a dashing dish recipe, I love hearing about what your favorites are. It really does bring so much joy to what I do and why I do it. So I have some Greek yogurt and some cream cheese that I added to it. And I'm gonna first start by just stirring that in. You do wanna make sure your cream cheese is softened. And you could do without the cream cheese, but it just really does add a little bit of a depth of flavor. So I like to add the two together. The Greek yogurt adds protein and does make it a little bit lighter. And I'm gonna show you guys what I do, a little trick to put that cream cheese layer on top of this casserole. So I have a Ziploc bag and I'm just gonna put it on my hand, so stick my hand in there. And then I'm gonna scoop some of this cream cheese, just like that, right onto my hand. So it's like I'm holding it. So that way I can kind of balance it when I flip it back around, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so then I kind of flip it back around, and again, you don't have to do this part. It's just a little handy tip in the kitchen. And then you want to kind of squeeze it down to one of the corners, just like that. And then that way you can really easy and nicely spread it onto the top of your casserole. It really does make it more even, and it also makes it look really pretty. So I'm gonna grab some kitchen scissors. I'm just gonna snip just one of the edges off there. And then you can kind of just pipe it on, just like that. Once we get all of that on there, you can go ahead and, kind of spread it out, smooth it out just a little bit if you'd like. But that's one of my favorite kitchen tips whenever I'm working with like a whipped cream topping or something with cream cheese, is just to pop it in a Ziploc bag and kind of pipe it on. Makes it a lot easier. We're just gonna smooth that out on top, and then we're gonna top it with our cheese. And you can use any kind of shredded cheese. You can also do some of your favorite taco seasoning. So you could do shredded lettuce, you could do olives, you could do diced tomatoes, whatever you like. So now I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, and you could eat it just straight away, but it also is wonderful when you serve it up chilled for about 30 minutes to an hour.